Revelation chapter 17 gives us the picture of the world's historic, illicit, spiritually illicit love affair with a demonic and diabolical harlot named Babylon. Gary Stearman is here as we discuss this fascinating subject, who is Mystery Babylon?
J.R., there's probably not been a greater discussion in the history of Christendom than the identity of Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots. To set the scene, as we're going to be looking at Revelation 17 in today's study, the seventh vial has just been poured out. And J.R., we have, just prior to that, we have the word Armageddon mentioned in Revelation 16:16. And then we have the mention in Revelation 16:19 of a great city being divided into three parts, which then sets the stage for Revelation 17. There's a lot to discuss here.
Indeed. Now, this idea of great city from the Greek is the word megalopolis, which of course transliterates into English as megalopolis. And so this city appears to be more than one city. On the outset, we would have to say that she is a megalopolis rather than a metropolis. The scriptures begin by saying, "There came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." Gary, to begin with, this is one of the seven angels. Well, it just happens to be the seventh vial that gives God the idea of go ahead and destroy Mystery Babylon. So this is probably the seventh angel, the one that carried the seventh vial, that comes to him and comes to John and says, I want to show you the judgment of this great harlot. And of course he carried John away into the wilderness and saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. It goes on to describe that she sits upon many waters, then takes her to a wilderness. Now, how can we have many waters and a wilderness at the same time?
That's a very good question. Of course, Revelation is loaded with metaphors. Waters in Scripture, J.R., as you know, are nations or peoples. And so here, this harlot sitting upon many waters would be, I think, ruling over many peoples. Also, there's a literal explanation for this, because the world is mostly covered with water, and the transportation of goods and materials across the world takes place between seaports, and these seaports are the major locations of the world's population centers. And so we have here Mystery Babylon controlling commerce, controlling shipmasters and their cargoes, controlling a global system of trade, and being the purveyor of a false religion all at the same time. Now, what about the wilderness, J.R.? That's a good question.
Well, you know, this beast that rises up out of the sea just happens to be a metaphor for many nations. A sea of nations, a tumultuous sea of nations and peoples and so on. And so this, to me, is the same waters, and this is the same beast, the beast that she rides. Wilderness, boy, that's to me, it's a wilderness experience because of the world's preoccupation with this woman. Now, there is at least that possibility that we're looking at Babylon, because Babylon that sits astride the Euphrates River just happens to be in a wilderness of sorts.
It does indeed, and so you have, you can talk about a spiritual wilderness, you can talk about a literal wilderness. A lot of people have said that Babylon, Mystery Babylon, is the city of Babylon. We rather take the position that it's more global than that. However, the idea of a wilderness, J.R., to me suggests perhaps the exposure of this whole system, which is operating in secret right now, very smoothly, behind the scenes. One of these days, God's going to expose this woman. She's going to be right out in the open, naked as it were, and that the wilderness will be her judgment.
Well, I want to read to you from Psalm 107, because when the 7 vials of wrath are poured out, The Scripture tells us in verse 40, where is it? I'm looking. Psalm 107. I was looking at Psalm 106. That's the reason I couldn't find it. It says here that he will send them into the wilderness where there is no way. That's verse 40. He poureth contempt upon princes and causeth them to wander in the wilderness where there is no way. So we've got a wilderness there in Psalm 107 as well.
Yeah, and to me it suggests a smoothly operating system. The kings have had just a wonderful time buying, selling, raising wealth, and so forth and so on, and suddenly all that's pulled back, and they find themselves lost and without any hope of recovery. Again, it's metaphoric. It involves people, it involves wealth, it involves nations, and it involves a false system both of commerce and of religion. And commerce, by the way, JR, is the oppressor. False commerce is the oppressor of freedom globally.
Now let's look at some of the thoughts and ideas of who Mystery Babylon has been targeted as being. Let's take, for example, first of all, the question is it Europe? Is it Europe? Because today's emerging Europe boasts of being the very essence of Babylon. The new parliament building for the European Parliament in Strasbourg, France, is built, designed as an unfinished Tower of Babel. And you might recall the German archaeologists back around the turn of the century went to Babylon in Iraq, dug up the old gate of Babylon, lifted it from the sands of time, took it back, every brick of it, took it back to Berlin, set it up in a museum in Berlin. So Berlin now has the Gate of Babylon.
The Gate of Babylon and the throne of Satan, so called from Revelation 2:13, in Pergamos, the Greek city, by the way, which is one of the 7 churches. There was a huge altar to Zeus there, referred to by John in Revelation as Satan's throne. And JR, that was an archaeological dig if there ever was one. The Germans took that piece by piece back to Germany.
So the throne of Satan and the Gate of Babylon is located in the same museum in Berlin. I think that's quite fascinating.
Yes.
Then the logo of the new Europe is Europa riding the bull. Now the beast, of course, is depicted there as a bull, and she's obviously a type of Mystery Babylon. And the bull, of course, according to European mythology, ancient Roman and Greek mythology, the bull is Zeus, who found her basking on the shores, bathing in the Mediterranean in Lebanon, and then took her over to the island of Crete, and she became the mother of the kings of Europe, according to the theory, or the ancient legend.
It's legendary, but JR, there's more than legend there, because what it suggests is that there is a false system of pagan worship going on in Europe, and indeed, when we look, that's what we see.
Now, according to the scriptures here, he saw this woman arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold, precious stones, and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand. This golden cup is filled with the seed of kings. And so the legend is that Europa bore European royalty. In fact, the Grail legend, the Grail Society out of medieval Europe, believes that the cup that Jesus picked up, and used for the Last Supper bore the bloodline of Europe's kings as well. So the Holy Grail has the seed of kings, and this cup in the hand of Mystery Babylon has the seed of kings. It's absolutely incredible, the analogy between the two. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So this sets the scene for Mystery Babylon and her identity, question mark?
Yeah, question mark in a big way. As a matter of fact, JR, we've talked about Europe, but now we can focus down a little more tightly. A lot of people have focused upon Rome and the Vatican, and this as being the headquarters of Mystery Babylon the Great. the mother of harlots. Many arguments have been made in favor of Rome bearing this identification. True or false? Well, we're going to discuss this. We've got a break upcoming, and JR, it'll be an interesting topic.
Well, according to almost every leader of Protestant Christianity for the past 400 years, Rome is Mystery Babylon. C.I. Scofield talked about it in one of his footnotes, which we'll give you when we come back in just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be right back. According to Dr. C.I. Scofield, the man who published the Scofield Bible, one I've used for years, ever since I was a child, wrote in a footnote below Revelation 17 and 18, quote, two Babylons are to be distinguished in Revelation: ecclesiastical Babylon, which is apostate Christendom headed up under the papacy, and political Babylon, which is the beast confederated empire, the last form of Gentile world dominion. I like Scofield, but Gary, I have to disagree here somewhat, because I cannot see Rome being the harlot. I cannot imagine the church, be it historical or ecclesiastical or whatever you want to call it, being a harlot. I can see an adulterous wife, but I cannot see a harlot. This is called fornication, not adultery. So I see this false religion as not being apostate Christianity. I see it being more along the lines of mysticism, Eastern mysticism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Shintoism, the New Age movement, the people who practice seances, astrology, etc.
I have a thought here before we get into all this. There is a long, long history behind commercialism as paganism. That is to say, commercialism is really not Christian as such. Global commercialism, even the commercialism of the ancient days, the Phoenicians, the merchants of Tyre, as the Bible calls them, were merchants who sailed abroad, and they spread the religion of Baal and Ishtar. And it was an integral part of their trade. That's what they worshipped. And so there is a long intertwining of commercialism and paganism. Not that they are separated into two pieces, but they are one and the same thing, really.
There is a Luciferian type religion today. They practice seances, they practice meditation, they use drugs. The Thule Society, for example, and the Grail Societies have used meditation called the mind's eye. They use drugs in order to create the ability to see ghosts or to have out-of-the-body experiences, ESP, and so on. I see this more than apostate Christianity myself.
And the United Nations would then be, shall we say, the model. That is the framework upon which this whole thing is built.
Yes.
And you've been to the United Nations.
Yes. There is no prayer chapel in the United Nations, Gary.
Isn't that interesting?
And there is no form of Christianity whatsoever, be it Roman type Christianity or Protestant Christianity. There's no Christianity. They do have a meditation room, however. And that's Eastern mysticism.
And by the way, the symbols and trappings, I've seen the picture, and we'll try to get that picture on the screen for you, that the symbols and trappings of that meditation room are definitely pagan in origin, right?
Yes, absolutely. Now, Scofield also mentioned commercial Babylon. I have a little bit of a problem with that. If there is a commercial Babylon, so be it. But according to Revelation chapter 18, all of these goods and services that are here, she buys. She's not a seller. She's a buyer of all these things. The merchants of the world are made rich by her continual buying. She is a shopaholic, so to speak.
But you know, it's an amazing thing, though. To be a successful merchant, you have to have a buying public, so to speak.
Yes.
And JR and I have spent many hours in conversation about Mystery Babylon. She appears to be global in scope. She appears to be a buyer of goods. She appears to be the system that keeps this whole thing afloat. Very difficult to put your finger on it, but it's the system.
Now, Europa is not Mary, okay? Nobody has ever tried to say that Europa is Mary. And so this idea of ecclesiastical Babylon being Rome, to me, is not accurate. But is it Europa? Is Europe Mystery Babylon?
Well, that brings up yet another question. And in his latest article, J.R. has brought into this discussion still another topic. Many have suggested that New York, the port of New York, Wall Street, financial capital, and so forth, might be Mystery Babylon. J.R., true or false?
Well, let me tell you, this woman is called the mother of harlots. There are a lot of daughters around, but that's not Mystery Babylon herself. Okay, so I see Europe as one of the daughters. Now, this idea of New York, or even the United States of America, you know, there is a little suburb next to New York, just across the Hudson Bay, called Babylon, New York. And then there's the Tower of Babel, the modern Tower of Babel, the United Nations building, and the world comes there to speak one language as opposed to the confusion of Babel. And so it has all of the trappings. And then there's the Statue of Liberty, which some have suggested is a representation of Columbia, another in the grand style of Mystery Babylon anyway. Frank Logston, back some years ago, wrote a little book called Is the USA in Prophecy? And he saw three Babylons in the Scriptures. He saw historical Babylon, symbolized by the infamous tower, ecclesiastical Babylon, symbolized by the mystical woman, and political Babylon, a mighty city or a nation. And he suggested, using about 16 different points of comparison, that the United States might be Mystery Babylon. Well, again, Mystery Babylon, Gary, is going to be utterly destroyed, and to be forever destroyed and never recovered during the millennial reign of Christ. Now, if the United States were Mystery Babylon and we were zapped, can you imagine the hole in the global millennial reign of Christ? I mean, can you turn the United States into a wilderness for the next 1,000 years and not recover it? That would be an awful lot of this planet. If Europe were completely destroyed in such a fashion as is described in chapter 18 and not recovered during the millennial reign of Christ, that would leave a big gap for the planet. A part of the planet, any particular part being vaporized, would just really be difficult for me.
And yet, the Bible does say that Mystery Babylon will be destroyed.
Yes.
Utterly.
Yes, never to be recovered.
Never to rise again. And so we regard that as true. Therefore, we have to solve this riddle somehow. And how are we going to do that?
Yeah, well, there are two possibilities left. We're not going to be able to get to them to really flesh them out on this program, but we're just going to touch on them. There's the global village, and then there's the original city of Babylon on the Euphrates in southern Iraq, 50 miles or so south of Baghdad. Could that be Mystery Babylon?
Thinking of the global village for a moment, now there's no such term in the Bible, and yet there is, if you will. The woman is called a great city, this megalopolis. Today there is a megalopolis, and it's humming in the wires and in the satellites that surround this world. It is the global system of trade. On the surface of the waters, you have ships. In the air, you have airplanes. But JR, they all depend upon this humming system that's invisible, really. You can't see it. And it seems that that system is backed by, or maybe is the personification of what the Bible calls Mystery Babylon.
Possible. With the invention of the automobile and the airplane, and with telephones and electrical systems, with the internet and the computers, the world has shrunk. You can get on an airplane here and be there in no time at all, almost, within a day. And so, indeed, it could be the global village. There is that distinct possibility, because you got to admit, Gary, nearly everything here is symbolic. It's metaphoric.
And she sits upon many waters, as we discussed before. That means that she is perhaps the port cities of the world, to say the very least.
If Mystery Babylon is only symbolic, I have a problem with this destruction because she burned with fire. How are we going to get her burned with fire and still be metaphoric? So we look at Babylon, the possibility of Babylon on the banks of the Euphrates. Will there be some kind of a restoration there to be the great mother to finally be destroyed? Well, we'll have to wait till our next program to find out. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm holding here my personal copy of The Exodus Case by Dr. Leonard Moeller. This is a valued book. I treasure it along with some of the most exciting books I've ever read, and it's right up there at the top. Dr. Moeller is a lecturer. He's a medical doctor at the Karolinska Institute of Stockholm, Sweden. Very prestigious position. More than that, he's a Bible-believing Christian who went on an archaeological expedition, actually a series of them, to document the events of the Exodus. Who was the Pharaoh of the Exodus? What was the track across the desert to the Red Sea crossing? Where did they cross? And after they got there, where was the land of Midian, the mountain of God? What can be found there? Well, actually, you'll see pictures of rock carvings at the base of the mountain of God, an altar that was built by the children of Israel. So much evidence in pictures, 317 pages, almost 600 four-color pictures in this book. You call 1-800-883-1809 to get your copy, and JR, they'll love it, I'm sure.
Yes, they will. It's $34.95 for the book. But Dr. Moeller has also produced a companion video called The Exodus Revealed. They put an underwater camera down at the bottom of the Red Sea and took pictures of the wreckage across the 8-mile crossing site. Dozens of chariot wheels, some still on the axles. It's an absolute must for you to see. It's $19.95, and it's available on VHS, but also on DVD for $24.95. The DVD has extra footage, including Cecil B. DeMille telling how he made and why he made the Ten Commandments. If you'll get the book for $34.95 and one of the videos, your choice of either the VHS or the DVD, we'll send you an extra bonus as well. Gary?
And that bonus is Prophecy in the News, 12 issues, an annual subscription, regularly valued at $29.95. Yours absolutely free when you order this very, very exciting offer that we have for you. Believe me, you're going to be showing your friends the Exodus Case. You'll be inviting them over to look at those videos, and they will be awe-stricken, I promise you. But most of all, we want you to have a copy of this book, The Exodus Case. In my opinion, a landmark production. Dr. Moeller has done something very special here. And by the way, he told us that he did this as much as anything for the skeptic, for the individual who maybe has a little trouble believing the narratives of the Bible. Here are the facts, carefully documented with hundreds of pictures. The Exodus Case. Just call the 800 number on your screen right now, 1-800-883-1809, and we will rush this book to your home.
Well, we've just barely gotten started on this.
Babylon, I think it'll take at least another program, Gary.
Oh, at least, JR. And if you want to be reading ahead, we'll be studying in Revelation 17, the riddle of the ages. Who is Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots?
In the closing moments of our program, let me just tell you about this book in their own words, the personal testimonies of men and women of faith. People like Bill Bright, Chuck Colson, James Dobson, Elizabeth Elliot, Adrian Rogers, Ed Young, and others. I'm chapter 5 in this book and would like for you to get it. You know, when an old man dies, it is said a library is burned. Well, you can have the testimonies of the salvation or the conversion experiences of over 50 men and women across America. Order it from us today, will you? $12.95 plus $3 shipping and handling. Call the phone number at the bottom of your screen. This is J.R. Church and Gary Stearman. Until next time, keep looking up.
Prophecy in the News is a viewer-supported ministry sponsored by our many friends across America and in your area. For your gift of $10, you can receive a special edition of our current program on audio tape, or for a gift of $20, we'll send you our programs on videotape. For either order, call the 800 number on your screen right now.